So we've got this interesting confluence of events. And then contributing to all of that, as I mentioned earlier on, we have this aging infrastructure. So it's almost like a perfect storm where we have to renew our transmission and distribution systems at the same time as the people who really built them, maintain them, and understand them are leaving. So add on to that the technology boom that Colin talked about and that I'm sure many of you are aware of. The future looks very different than what we know now, and I'm sure there's many, many things that we don't know. Colin talked to you about what's going on in green energy, and this truly is a transformative period that we're going to be going through. And it's going to challenge us to prepare our students for these new technologies, things that we don't, as I said, know much about just yet. So keeping up is definitely a challenge, but I have to say the other day some of our people came in to talk to us about smart meters and smart grid, and they brought in some props, which is always good for a lawyer because, you know, when you're not technically inclined, it's nice to, you know, have show and tell. And here are your own employees who are taking a device that is hung off of our wires for many, many years, and they ran into a communications problem with the smart meters. And with one of our suppliers, they devised a way of fixing the communications issue by inserting it into the device that hangs off of the wires. I thought, well, this is really cool. So this is the kind of environment that our young people can look forward to. Really innovative. The learning, as we all know, doesn't stop in school. It continues in the workplace. And so I like to talk about the excitement of being in our workplace, in our industry, and especially with the green energy transformation that is taking place. And I know you've heard the Premier talk about, and many others talk about, 50,000 jobs being created in the green energy sector. And I think that is a really big reality, and it's a scary one if we're not prepared for it. But we are. And we're going to talk about that. And you are, because you've got this wonderful program. So what we see happening here is many, many years of direct and indirect jobs being created in our sector, and then of course the spin-off sectors. There are many, many suppliers that provide the gadgets and gizmos that engineers and technologists are famous for inventing. Now, the problem with all of this is we do expect a severe shortage of trained staff. And even though we'll have our kids, our students, working through the high schools in this program, into community colleges, you know, they come into the workplace and they are well educated, but the training is just beginning. A lines person we take for 4 years after they come to us from high school or community college. 4 years they spend in classroom and in the field in order to train. It isn't so simple as climbing up a pole. It involves very technical skills. It involves math. It involves English. And that's another thing that we're trying to encourage our young people to do, is to stay in those subjects, because it isn't just about working with your hands. You really still need to exercise your brain in a major way. So what we see is it's not as simple as putting ads in paper. I have to be out here talking. You have to be out as educators talking about what's going on, because if we don't, we will not have a deep well of skilled workers from which to draw, and from which we absolutely need to draw. The good news is we're not sitting on our hands. Hydro One certainly hasn't been. We've got some terrific people who saw what was coming and started to work with people like myself and with our board to say, look, we can't wait until those more experienced people walk out the door and then go out to the colleges, universities, high schools, because those people won't be there, because we haven't told them about what's waiting for them. So we started early in 2002 to begin to invest in people. And that's what I like to talk about it, is as an investment in people. I'm just going to take a sip of water here. And as a long-serving employee of our company, it was clear to me when I became the CEO over 3 years ago that people had to be the absolute priority for me. And I know a lot of people see that as touchy-feely, you know, she doesn't really get the business side. Believe me, I get it. Without the people, you don't have your electricity, we don't have our products, society doesn't function. So We have been very focused on great people and getting them. So what exactly have we been doing? Well, we wanted to move the company from being a sporadic recruiter to a company with a human resources strategy that was integrated throughout our entire business. And that's exactly what we did. And it wasn't easy, because everybody's focused on getting the job done. Our board was focused on saving money, making sure we made money. But as I said, we have to go back to the people. The other part of it was that we thought about education. We wanted to reach outside of our organization. We tend to be fairly insular, and we have been very insular, but we wanted to reach out this time to educational institutions, to the partnerships that Carol talked about when we first started, because that's how we saw as the answer to developing the talent pool that our company and our entire sector needs. And I'm sure Catherine talked about this. This is not an Ontario problem. This is a global issue. So if we don't get onto it, the few skilled workers we have, if we don't increase that pool, the ones we have are going to leave Ontario. And that's a reality. They can go. Let me talk about our apprentices. That is a huge program. And since 2002, almost 600 people have been hired into apprenticeships in our company. We give them the best possible training, and training is key. As I said, education continues throughout their entire career. We give them a safe environment within which to operate and the foundation, we hope, for a long and safe career. What they're getting when they come into the company is the ability to be mentored by these experienced people, because fortunately, they haven't all left, and they love to teach. Maybe it's something they remember too from being back in school like I did. But they love to teach, they love to mentor, they love to transfer their knowledge. So we've given them permission, if you want to say it that way. We've encouraged them to do exactly that, to spend the time, to pick up a buddy, and help this young person or persons along their career just as they've had help over the years. To say that they're passionate about doing this is an understatement. They really, truly are. And if you talk to them, if you have any of them who are neighbors in this field, you'll see exactly what I mean. Let me talk a bit about Aboriginal communities. We recognize that our workforce renewal programs and the people we hire should be a reflection of our customer base and the communities that we serve. We also know that Aboriginal communities are seriously underrepresented in our workforce. Interestingly enough, they have the opposite demographics to other parts of Ontario. In other words, they have a large youth base, something that we'd all be very interested in. It's a greatly underutilized human resource. Recently, we began to pilot a partnership up in Sioux Lookout, way up there in northern Ontario, with the Sioux Lookout Aboriginal Management Band and with our Power Workers Union, which also has a very interesting program called Trades Up. And I can't speak to it, but certainly next time you have a conference, if you haven't asked them before, you should ask the PWU to come and talk to you about Trades Up. And together with our union, we're offering training to Aboriginal workers so that they can acquire the skills or upgrade skills so they can apply for jobs in our sector. We're very, very excited about this, and the last time I was speaking at a conference, there was an Aboriginal management band in the Niagara area that was at the conference, and we connected, and so now we're talking to them. So we hope to roll this initiative out more broadly.